Hey everybody, it's July 15th, 2026. It is Joe from the Strange Voyage Files. And, trying to get this dumb thing in. This little Iron Maiden light up thing I got off eBay. Thing is garbage. Remote doesn't work. And the guy, of course, has no returns. But, so I figured I'd do that. But, alright, so, whole point in this video is the big, the word on the street is that Iron Maiden is selling 50% of its catalog to Pop House. So that's publishing rights, master recordings, Eddie's Image. What else was there? I don't know. There's the important stuff. What was the other big? There was another big one. I don't know. Anyway, so I'm going to kind of go into, and this is all just my 2 cents, as to why this is happening, plus what does it mean according to me, which means nothing, to be honest with you. So I think there's 2 big reasons why this is happening. The one is blatantly obvious. The other one, I don't know how many people think about this, but honestly, I have thought about this over the years. The big one is, these guys are in their 70s. They're old. They can't keep doing this. And the fact that they're only selling 50% means they do still want to they still want to be Iron Maiden. Iron Maiden wants to be active, but it's not as much selling the catalog and whatnot and the rights to the music. It's also kind of selling the risk, because first off, let's just put it on the table. Our bands don't sell albums. We all buy the albums, and we do it in physical format for the most part, but our bands, they don't sell albums. I'll give you an idea. I looked this up on Wikipedia last night when I was thinking about this video. The last album to sell any certification in the U.S. is No Prayer for the Dying. It went gold, 500,000. And yes, the other albums chart, they get certified in Europe and whatnot, and those numbers are much lower. I don't think there's anybody else that has 1 million as platinum. I think there are countries where 10,000 is like platinum and whatnot. So, the moneymaker is the United States, for sure. So you think that they have not, Fear of the Dark didn't go gold in the U.S. Brave New World didn't go gold in the U.S. Book of Souls didn't go gold in the U.S. Albums that you think would sell a ton of copies. So they're not selling the music to, say, hey, we're writing this off and going out into the sunset. I think they do still want to do albums. And that means that half of that risk, half of that financial risk, isn't just on the band anymore. Now, Steve Harris has been very blatant. Iron Maiden is his. So I would guesstimate that between him and Bruce, they have creative control as far as future albums, which I do think there are going to be future albums. I absolutely think there's going to be future albums. And I think Steve has a studio. Now, I know one of the, maybe it was Book of Souls, could have been Senjutsu. One of them, they were in France recording, and then one was back in the Bahamas. I don't know if that, doing that, I don't know if it's a loss to the record company. Because, again, these albums still sell in Europe. So I kind of did, in my head math, which you all know how bad that is. The last couple of albums, it looked like worldwide they only sold between 300,000 and 400,000 copies. Which is still a lot, but for, Iron Maiden, where we think of Power Slave, Number of the Beast, and Peace of Mind, it's kind of low. So I think part of it is, yes, we're gonna share some risk. Eddie's Image was sold, so what does that mean? I think there's going to be one of the things. So Iron Maiden makes a ton of money off touring, obviously, and merchandise. Every single you see Eddie T-shirts, Iron Maiden T-shirts on these teenage kids that have no idea who it is. To people like us, to everybody wears an Iron Maiden T-shirt. That is a big moneymaker. What does that mean? I think we're going to get everything. I think almost every song that has ever been written is going to have an Eddie. Will it flood the market? I don't know. Will it be cool? I'm sure some of them will. Um, and I really hope that they either have Derek Riggs come back or use Derek Riggs' artwork, or they commission him to do new stuff. So I think that's a big thing too. Is obviously the merchandising. Burning Edition. I did my pre-order, so that's in there. They did the whole Eddie Museum thing on the tour, and I guess that went over very well. They did the Ed Festival. So there's a whole bunch of big things going on. So it's obvious. They're getting older. They're, it's tough to do, and they all love side projects. Adrian does a side project. Steve does a side project. Bruce does a side project, and they have families, they have children, they have grandchildren. Of course, Dave Murray gave that interview 100,000 years ago, said something like maybe they'll slow down or something like that. And of course, everybody went nuts and said Dave's leaving the band, which is not true. I think this is slow down because I have a very strong feeling everything's calculated. I have a very strong feeling that before Run for Your Lives was announced, they knew they were going to do this. Because I don't think the world tours are going to happen anymore. I think there's still going to be big tours. Don't get me wrong. But also with Run for Your Lives and retiring songs, I truly do think they're going to be smaller tours based on new albums coming out. And I do think we're going to continue to get Iron Maiden albums. Bruce and Steve and all of them, they like being ambiguous. They do it on purpose. It's a game. It's fun with them. Remember, none of us really knew Zenjitsu was coming out until the Baltazar's Feast thing came out. It was dropped out of nowhere. I do think we're going to get an album next year. I really do think we're going to get an album next year. And I think we will probably see more albums. I hope we'll probably see more albums because they're not relentlessly touring. Maybe every 2 to 3 years. It'd be great if that was the case. Also, with this pop house, they may actually say, hey, we're giving you, you're keeping your creative control, but maybe it wouldn't kill you to write an album that didn't have songs that were 3.5 hours long, each song. Again, because when you look at albums like Senjutsu and you look at albums, like A Matter of Life and Death, it's not that they're bad albums. I don't have the attention span. I don't want to sit through an 11-minute song, for half the album. Every song is 9 to 11 minutes. So maybe a nice little mixture. Maybe you can do the artsy album and then go back to the core album. But I do think it's an open door to albums. I also think it's an open the door to box sets. Now, Iron Maiden did a few box sets throughout the years. Nothing album specific wise. That is a big moneymaker. Everybody has already bought Creatures of the Night, so they're not going to buy that album again, but they bought the box set. They bought Dress to Kill box set. I don't even really like Dress to Kill. It's okay, I know. Oh my God, you're crazy. I have it. I think absolutely we are going to see box sets for each album. I think that's going to be a big thing with this Pop House thing. I don't think Steve would give up his rights to stuff without having a big say in things. The second thing that I think is driving this is Rod Smallwood. Rod's in his 70s too, and he is pretty much a member of the band. As far as I know, Rod is still handling day-to-day operations. I would assume the man has, maybe he doesn't have a family, I don't know. Even if he does, if he has a family, I'm sure he wants to start spending more time with them. If he doesn't, he's still I think he was 77. Don't quote me on that. When I looked last night, he can't do it. I mean, the man, he served his time. He did his bid for King and Country. He needs help. As rightfully so. It's not a knock on him in any means. I've thought about that. What happens when Rod Smallwood says to Steve, I can't do this anymore? Is it possible Iron Maiden collapses? Because Steve and Rod are, I mean, they're like this. So, you saw what happened. One of the big things that blew up Van Hagar was when Ed Loeffler died. And they had Alex Van Halen's brother-in-law manage the band. It was a disaster. So I think this has been calculated too. I think that was I don't know how much you'll hear about that. And again, this is just my 2 cents. I think it's Rod Smallwood not being able to do the day-to-day stuff anymore, I think is a big reason why this is happening. Is this a good thing? I mean, only time will tell. Again, I do firmly believe we're going to get box sets. And I mean, I think, I will say, and I get the CD Kiss box sets because they're absolutely nuts, you know, paying $1,000 for a box set. Yes, okay, yeah, the Ozzy box sets, $1,500 each. I know, but they also have Ozzy signature, and they also have rare albums in there. I'm not buying $1,000 Destroyer box set. Just not going to happen of albums. So, and the CDs are far less, and especially I got them for like that Thanksgiving sale. It was a really, I mean, still a couple $100, but it was a good price. So I think we're going to get box sets. I think we're going to see a lot of more merchandise. I think the tours are going to be album focused. I wouldn't be surprised, and I saw the Matter of Life and Death tour, and everybody groaned at the Rosemont Horizon when Bruce said, "We're playing the whole album." Oh, no. I mean, the whole place went, oh, no. Because I mean, it was Matter of Life and Death was not the album to play all the way through. Dance of Death, I would love to hear all the way through. Brave New World, maybe. And maybe even Book of Souls. But of all those albums, really, and I don't give as much hate to Final Frontier as a lot of people do. That is because it's so long. So I think future tours are going to be new, which I mean they pretty much kind of said that anyway. But I do think we're going to get more albums. If they're not going to be doing the nostalgia stuff anymore, then you need to have new albums to drive ticket sales. It just makes sense. And their bread and butter is on touring and merchandise. Because Steve is still involved and Bruce is still involved, you know, the whole band is too. I don't think it's going to be too watered down. I don't think it's going to be like Star Wars, where every single thing, you know, Disney bought it, and now we have, you know, a bunch of garbage Star Wars every time we turn around. I think there will be quality control since they're still keeping half the rights. And Rod Smallwood is still going to be a part of this, and he is very, very important with that. So, you know, again, this isn't only time will tell type thing, but it makes sense. And yeah, they're, you know, with the way they're going, they're only going to make so much money, much more money off their publishing. I don't think for the foreseeable future anybody's going to explode going to buy Iron Maiden albums. May happen in 100 years. I have a feeling all our music, after we're all dead, I have a feeling all our music is going to make a monster comeback. Just feel it in my bones. But then again, so will disco. But they're not making money off publishing. They will off box sets, and I think they'll do it right. I think they'll do it like that, like Black Sabbath, where they're not crazy priced, and they have some cool stuff in it. And we'll have live shows we don't hear, hopefully unreleased tracks. Maiden was pretty big on releasing everything they recorded, from my understanding. So I don't know how many, you know, tracks that were recorded and aren't out, you know, weren't released are actually in existence. Steve's talked about that quite a bit, that, you know, they recorded the album and that's it. And again, I think there's a quality control. I think that even for these albums that are long and drawn on, very few people say, "Oh, it sucks. Maiden sucked. That Maiden album sucks." They say, "Hey, that's good stuff, but it's too long for me," or there's still that artistic respect from the audience. I hate using this example because as much as I do have railed on them, I do love them. But then you compare them to a band like Def Leppard, where for me, after Adrenalize, for other people after Hysteria, for other people after Pyromania, for other people after High and Dry, and there for some people after On Through the Night. But for me, after Adrenalize, everything is garbage. And I will still buy a Black Sabbath, a Def Leppard album in the hopes that they're finally going to tell Joe Elliott to shut his mouth, and they're doing an album like they used to. It probably wouldn't hurt even. All right, fine, you're not going to have Pete Willis play. You know what? Hire him as a writer. Steve Clark's dead. A lot of that good stuff had Pete Willis's name on it. Hire the man to help write. But of course, I know Joe Elliott won't do it. But you look at Def Leppard. Their albums suck. I mean, they're awful. Seriously, that last Diamond Star garbage. Sirius XM, the Hair Nation, it was like a week of pretty much just Def Leppard for that album, and it did nothing. That's not the case with Iron Maiden. They still go number one in all these countries. They are like gods everywhere else except in the United States. So I think that they do. I think that they want to continue to make music. And they know it's for a small select group of people. And it's smart to share, because again, I don't know if they're losing money on albums. I don't think they're doing too much more than breaking even. You have a lot of artists who said there's no money in making albums. Unless you're Taylor Swift or, this Olivia Rodrigo or whatnot, you're not making money on new music. So we're going to see. I don't know if this is going to be good or bad. I trust Steve. He knows what he's doing. He's always put Iron Maiden first, and I do think we're finally gonna get a new album out of this. I think we're gonna get new albums in conjunction. Like, it's gonna be an experience. There's gonna be merchandise. There always has been, but it's gonna be like merchandise, and I think that's how they're gonna do things, because I don't think they're gonna do the big grandiose tours anymore. They really. I don't see how they can, because once word spreads that you're just playing all of Final Frontier with 2 or 3 songs, ticket sales are not gonna. People are not gonna go out to just pay for this. So they may do tour. They're still gonna do tour, I'm sure. I don't know if smaller venues is the right, but we're definitely not going to see the Power Slave and the Peace of Mind stuff as much. So, I hope this is good. I have no idea. I don't think we're ever going to see an Iron Maiden hologram. Thank God. And we'll see. Hope for the best. Not planning for the worst. And, hey, up the irons, man. All right, let me know what you guys think, because there's a lot of chatter around about this. Good, bad, indifferent, whatever it may be. Let me know what you guys think. Like, subscribe, and I will see ya.